Welcome everyone to our Sunday Satsang. It's wonderful to see everybody here. This is a reading from Whispers from Eternity, a book of prayer and poems from Paramahansa Yogananda. And this one is entitled, I Want to Hear Thy Song in the Silence of My Soul. Thy gentle voice saying, come home, I often heard, but through many lives it was drowned in the tumult of my wild cravings. I have forsaken the jostling crowds of desire. In the solitude of my mind, my devotion bursts to hear thy voice. Take away every dream memory of earthly sounds that yet lurks in my mind. I want to hear thy still voice, ever singing in the silence of my soul. And one more. Nothing can steal my love for thee. No loud or whispered words of prayer shall steal away my love. With the soul's unspoken language, I will express my hunger for thee. Thy voice is silence, and through my silence thou must speak to me and tell me thou hast loved me always, though I knew it not. And this is a reading from The New Path, a book that is recommended by me and everybody else who has read this book. It's a book that has hundreds of stories of Yogananda written and remembered by his disciple, Swami Kriyananda. And this is the chapter on Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga directs energy lengthwise around the spine, gradually neutralizing there the eddies of chitta. At the same time, it strengthens the nerves in the spine and brain to receive cosmic currents of energy and consciousness. Yogananda called Kriya the supreme science of yoga. Beside it, other yoga techniques, most of which work on calming the breath and concentrating the mind, though important in themselves, Yogananda also taught a number of them, must be classed as subsidiary. Other aspects there are to Kriya Yoga that relate to the subjective reactive process, but I do not feel it necessary to burden the reader's mind at this point with this long explanation. I wasn't sent to the West by Christ and the great masters of India, Yogananda often told his audiences, to dogmatize you with a new theology. Jesus himself asked Babaji to send someone here to teach you the science of Kriya Yoga, that people might learn how to commune with God directly. I want to help you toward the attainment of actual experience of Him through your daily practice of Kriya Yoga. He added, the time for knowing God has come. And it's an important message, this message of Kriya Yoga. We are blessed and privileged beyond compare to have the honor of commemorating our great Guru's Mahasamadhi in 1 week. It's a terrific blessing to be able to give of ourselves in any way that we can to this great master who has given so much to us. And Paramahansa Yogananda came for us, just like he said. And he said in one of his many, many beautiful poems, he said, I came to tell you all of him and to encase him in your bosom. And that is the essence of the spiritual path, is to encase God in our hearts, is to experience his divine love within each cell of our being. You know, oftentimes I think we're like little birds in the cage. We say we want freedom, we say we want cosmic consciousness, we say we want all of these experiences. We want to know God. But we're all in our little cages, and we're so afraid to make that flight out of the cage. Why are we so afraid when it looms before us? Freedom of soul, oneness with God, unconditional love, unending bliss. Why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid to get out of our little cages, little birds that we are? Why are we so timid? And we're timid because we're afraid that if we give up our desires, if we give up what we have spent lifetimes telling ourselves we need to be happy. If we give those things up, if we give up anything, what's going to be there for us? Because there's no physical proof. It's not written down. No one's going to say, if you give up a college education to go to the monastery, then you will have perfect bliss. You don't know. There's this vast space between the knowing and the unknowing. And so we stay in our cages because it's safe. We just don't want to let go. We don't want to give anything up. So we have to take baby steps, little fortes out of the cage and then fly back in, and little more, little longer, and fly back in. Until finally we realize that we're soaring in love. We're soaring in God. We're soaring in freedom. And we had nothing to be afraid of. It was much more scary to be in that cage because we were limited in our reality. We were limited in the knowing of who we were. We need to find out who we are. We're eagles flying, not little stranded birds stuck. There's so much more to us, but these desires are keeping us bound. And Kriya Yoga, in this age, is the technique that will free us from those desires. Once the energy is flowing up the spine to the brain, once everything is focused, once that power is coming within us, coming into us and also from our kundalini flowing to the brain, we begin to expand our awareness into who we really are. We are so much more than we think we are. We are so much more. How do we experience that? We practice Kriya Yoga. When I first got onto the spiritual path, I used to think, okay, this is the age of energy. Everybody talks about energy. And I would look at myself and I'd say, well, this doesn't look like energy. This is pretty fleshy. I'm pretty fleshy. That chair doesn't look like energy. Okay, prove it to me. I just had this tussle with myself when I first got onto the spiritual path. Prove it to me. I was like the bird in the cage. I didn't want to just fly out and say, oh, everything is energy, great. I wanted to know for sure. So I told myself when I first got to Ananda, give yourself 1 year, just 1 year, and watch people who have been practicing Kriya Yoga for a longer time than you. Just watch people and just see if it really works. Is this just like a nice idea, or does it really work? So I started watching people. And I will tell you, being at Ananda, around people that were truly seeking God as their goal in life, let me tell you, it works. I would just pick out a few people, and I would see every group meditation, the temple would be full of people meditating and doing Kriya. Every service project, people were there serving. You didn't have to beg them to come, they were there. Every time Swami spoke, they were there. Every time they were asked to do something, they were there. And even though these people weren't like saintly, and maybe they had idiosyncrasies that weren't perfect, and maybe they had habits that were dragging them down, they were at the meditations, they were serving, day in and day out. At the end of the year, and this is true, I looked back at my little subjects that I had been watching, and I was amazed at how they had changed. Just in that 1 year. Not changed in dramatic ways, but changed in their level of joy, changed in their level of happiness, changed in their level of unselfishness giving to others. They had changed, and I thought, this is where I want to be. These people are very, very, very serious about finding God. I want to be around people that really want to find God. And then you just see, Kriya Yoga works. The Guru is with you. The Guru is guiding you every moment of every day. We are so blessed to be living in this time where we have these gurus that came for us to practice Kriya Yoga. You know, also, my very first Kriya, even before I lived at Ananda, I took all the courses, and then it was my time to take Kriya. And I was so excited, I just couldn't wait. Swami was giving Kriya at the village. And he didn't do it all the time. He did it once a year, maybe twice a year. So I called him up and put my name on the list, and I was going to be there for my first Kriya, and Swami was up at the village. And he was going to give me my first Kriya. So 2 weeks before the Kriya, I get a phone call saying, oh, Swami's not going to give the Kriya. He's going to be out of town. So, of course, my first thought was, he's just leaving because I'm coming. He doesn't want to make he doesn't want me to take Kriya because I'm not worthy. He knows my past. He knows everything about me. He doesn't want me there, so he left. That was all. I went through the whole thing. And then I thought, okay, I'm not taking Kriya. And then I got another phone call and said, well, the Kriya's on, but Swami's not going to do it. Jyotish is going to do it. I didn't even know Jyotish. I had never even lived at the village. I knew of him. But Jyotish is going to do the Kriya. And I thought, wow, now what do I do? Do I wait for Swami to come back? Or do I go up now and have Jyotish give me my first Kriya? And so I had such a strong pull and a message to have Jyotish give me my first Kriya. And I said, okay, I'll go up and get the Kriya. Swami didn't want me to be there. I totally understand. I'm a big piece of work, and, it's going to take me a long time to be like these other people. So it was the most beautiful, lovely, deep, wonderful experience. It was pouring rain, way out in the country, in the middle of a forest, in a little hut, little house, and there were about a dozen of us, pouring rain, perfectly dark, no electricity, candles inside this little room. And so I put on my hip boots and my raincoat and everything, and I went down there, and I walked in the door, and I felt such a bliss. I'll never forget that feeling, such a bliss. It was like, oh, I'm home. I'm finally home. This is where I belong. This is it. And Jyotish was there, Devi was there, and the Kriya was so deep and so sweet and so beautiful. Just the little 12 of us in this pouring rain little hut. But Master was there, and Swami was there, and there was Jyotish giving his first Kriya. That was his first Kriya. And so there was this connection that was made in that moment, spiritual connection between Jyotish. And there was Devi sitting there, and at the end of the Kriya, he just sweetly looked to her and said, did I forget anything? And she said, no, you did just fine. And it was just very, very touching. And then he didn't give Kriya for many years after that. Only Swami gave Kriya. But I share this story because Jyotish is one of those I was watching. He was amazing, the way he transformed in the light. His name is Jyotish, the light. It means divine light. He's not the same person he was back then. He is Swami's spiritual successor now, and I know why. But it doesn't make him any more special than anybody else, any of us, anybody else on the path. But what does set him apart is his determination to find God. And he's been my silent mentor for all of these years. And I've seen him through so many ups and downs with Ananda. Always, Jyotish is in the light. He will seek the light. He will spread the light. He will sit with you in the light. No matter how dark things get, he will be the light shining. And so what a blessing to have him here in Bangalore, having a Kriya retreat with us, sharing his blessings with us, having him do a higher Kriya technique ceremony with us to give us even the higher Kriyas. There's Jyotish. So for each one of us, this is our journey. Whoever we are, whatever our path, whatever our individual karma is, wherever we're going, the Master will take us there. And we will begin to expand, and there will be less and less and less of who the personality is, and more more of our soul qualities shining through practicing Kriya Yoga, through meditating deeply, through serving selflessly, unselfishly. Serving is great, and it's wonderful to all serve together, but it's really interesting about service. It's the same as meditation. When you're serving with Divine Mother, you're spreading a vibration of joy and love and peace that this world needs. But if you're serving with an attitude of, okay, I'll do this, but as soon as I'm done, I'm going to go do that. Or, there's different attitudes of serving. But when you're open and your heart is open and the energy's flowing through you, you can help to change lives. You can change lives. You can take that deep meditation. You can take your Kriya. you can take your prayer, you can take your silent meditation and bring it out into this world with the right attitude. It's so wonderful to see humble devotees serving, really just living for God. But for each one of us, we need to know who we are. We don't think we're anything. You know, we look at Jyotish and Master and Swami and see this vast thing, but, you know, it's so not true. That's not the way the Guru sees us. The Guru sees our state of perfection, and the Guru will take away everything that is not that. And that's why we are on this wonderful path and have given our lives to God and Guru, so that we can begin to know ourselves as who we really are. There was another incident I just wanted to share, and it involved Jyotish and Devi, but this involves Swami. When I first came to Ananda, I was there for about 5 years, and then all of a sudden, Swamiji said, "Okay, I want you to be an acharya." Well, whoa, I didn't want to be an acharya. I was not very selfless in my service, and I thought of all the reasons to get out of everything that ever had to do with anything to be an acharya. If there was a teaching a class, then I was taking care of the baby or whatever. I was really skillful in getting out of everything when it came to being an acharya. But that day that he made us light bearers, there were 5 of us. Light bearers is an acharya in English or American lingo. And so Swamiji had just created these light bearers. And so he gave us white robes, and we had to start reading the Festival of Light. Many of you have heard the Festival of Light. It's a beautiful ceremony that Swami created that uplifts the spirit and the consciousness. And so there were 5 of us that were becoming acharyas that day, and Devi was in charge of getting everybody ready. And so I didn't have a robe, so Devi gave me her robe. And so I wore Devi's robe during this ceremony. And right before the ceremony, everybody was looking at these books, the ceremony itself, saying, "Well, I want to do this part, and I'll do this part, and I'll do this part, and I'll do this part." There were only 5 of us. So I just kind of stepped back, and I was thinking, I don't want to do any part. I was resisting, but not really. I was just stepping back, thinking, I don't know what part I want to do. I just don't want to get involved in that. And so everybody picked all the parts, and then at the end there was no parts for me, except one part, one line. I only had one line, and it's that line that I say every Sunday. Those of you who feel so inclined, come up to receive the touch of light from the masters. That was my line. That was it. The whole thing was taken. It takes about a half an hour to do the ceremony. So the ceremony goes on, and everybody's doing their part, and I was way off to the side. And then it came time for the arati. So all of us did the arati together. It was our first time doing it as acharyas. And then it was my time. So I had the book, and I read the part. And then the very last line, it said, "Come up to receive the touch of light from the masters." And then it was my turn to give a blessing. I had to give the blessing. Nobody had told me what to do. I didn't know what to do. So I thought, oh, I've seen this enough. I can do this. So I thought, okay, well, should I leave and let somebody else do the blessing? And no, I'd just stand there. So I just stood there, and Devi, handed me a candle, and I closed my eyes, and I opened my eyes, and there was Swami. He was the first one I ever blessed. He was smiling, had a big smile on his face, just blissful. And I said, "May the light of Christ shine upon you." And I gave him a blessing. That was wonderful, because what he was saying to me was, be who you are. Give blessings. Give these teachings. Share your vibration. Don't be anybody other than you think you are, need to be. Be yourself. He was calming my heart and giving me a lesson that we're all the same. You know, Swami, me, you, Haridas, Yogananda, we're all the same. And to the extent that we can share our vibration that we have come in with, we each have a gift to share. To the extent that we share that, then we will become self-realized. What does self-realized mean? It's the knowing in all parts of your body, in all parts of your mind and your soul, that you are a part of God. That we are a part of God. We are a part of God. All we have to do is improve our knowing. That's all. Just improve our knowing. And when you know that, then you become one with everyone. You know, on the spiritual path, I think that we're oftentimes harder on people that are on the spiritual path. Once you know who you are, you begin to judge much less frequently. You begin to quit criticizing because you begin to understand, wow, look how far I've come. Look what I know about myself. Look what I've done. And the Master still loves me. Master still loves me. Swami still loves me. How can I judge? You begin to feel love for people, and that makes you connected in that love. Not criticizing and judging. You hold yourself apart from that ultimate experience of oneness with God because you're in that land of separation. We're not separate. None of us are separate. We are souls that are connected in the divine light. And so if you find yourself judging, offer that person into the light. They're trying as best as they can. Everybody is. Just like Jyotish at the beginning and the different ones that I would watch. I wasn't judging them. I was observing. And I had noticed in Jyotish a deep kindness for people. Such an acceptance. Never saying a mean word about anybody. Never. He would never judge. And I thought, I want to be like him, you know? And Davy too. I want to be like them. And so they've been my example. And so we are everybody's example. Who's watching us? Somebody. Our children, our nephews, our nieces, our grandkids, people we work with, people in this room. You know? They're watching. And they're saying, wow, they're on the spiritual path. What are they doing? And so wouldn't it be wonderful that in 1 year's time that you've given up your desires that are keeping you from getting out of that cage of spreading love and peace and calmness into this world. It's what we need. It's what the world is craving. And we are the instruments for that. We are the instruments. And in just little ways. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to wear a robe and stand up and talk. Your robe, Master said, make your heart a hermitage. Your robe is the robe of humility. Don't think you're special because you're doing Kriya Yoga. See, what Kriya Yoga does is that as it brings the energy up and you live in the upper chakras, your heart naturally opens. So this Kriya Yoga, with an open heart, you begin to really feel love, divine love, unconditional love. And this is the way we want to be loved. We don't want to be loved with condition. Well, if you change this, and if only you didn't have that attitude, and if only you would do this, then I will love you. That's not fair. That's not what love is. That's conditioned love. Unconditional love is without any barriers. It's love without barriers. You've heard of doctors without borders. We want to be lovers without barriers. Love everybody. And we do have a certain responsibility to do that because we know. We're awake. We're aware. We know. And you know how we know? Because when we're not in Dharma, our heart shuts down. You can feel it constricting. The energy drops to the lower chakras. It automatically does. But Master said even one good thought will raise the Kundalini to the brain. And what are those thoughts? Thoughts of God. Thoughts of harmony. Thoughts of peace. Thoughts of love. Those are thoughts that will raise the Kundalini. And our destiny is freedom. Our destiny is freedom. So whatever God gives you, accept it. Just accept where you are. Because this is where you're going to be growing. I've planted a little garden out here, and I'm thinking about my flowers all the time now. I can't believe it. It rained yesterday, and I thought, oh my God, my flowers are going to get ruined. So I ran out there and tried to protect them. But that's how God is with us. You know, He's planted us where we are, and He is going to be worrying about us until we're free, until we're blooming the way we're supposed to bloom, until we're giving off the beauty and the fragrance that we're supposed to give off. He's going to be there guiding us. He's going to be there when the storm comes. He's going to be there when the weeds come, and He's going to pick the weeds, and He's going to make way. So open your heart to God and the light, and you will see that support, that love, that energy is there. because that's all he wants for us, is to come home. Just like in the Whispers from Eternity reading today, come home. He's calling to us endlessly for incarnations. Come home. And we're ready. Otherwise we wouldn't even be here. So I wanted to just share that little bit about Jyotish today and these few words. But for the Mahasamadhi, truly it is a blessing. It was sort of unusual the way it happened that Bangalore would get the Mahasamadhi with Jyotish and Devi. It just happened. And why is that? It's because of our devotion. I'm convinced of it. Swamiji would say about the people in Bangalore, out of all of India, he said the people in Bangalore have the most devotion. He said that. And I feel that. Haridas has felt that. We've all felt it. And so let's give all of our devotion and energy to this event this weekend and just see the blessings that come from it. Just see the blessings within your own self. And then remember to share those blessings, because that truly is why we were born. That's why we're on this planet. So God bless you all, and thank you for coming.